Okay, I'm going to record this again. We got interrupted, and rather than put different parts of a video on there, I'm going to go ahead and just record this again. So this is not live like where I just met with you guys. I want to record it and do it so that you guys can get one fluid example of the entire lesson. So again, we're going to start with the COVID-19 conspiracies. The first things that you guys did was to look at this first claim. And this is the first conspiracy theory that I noticed when all this happened. And it was that these 5G cell towers were causing COVID-19. And this claim was initiated by this guy, this Belgian doctor, and that's this person here. And he's a homeopath and from Belgium. And he mentioned in an interview that there was these 5G towers were causing this DNA's, the virus's DNA to mutate. And whenever I was listening to this, I thought, how in the HE double hockey sticks was this guy thinking this, right? I mean, this is pretty ridiculous. And I saw three problems pretty immediately just whenever I was reading this in the paper. And similar to the last class, I gave you guys a little bit of a scenario, and I'll let you guys think of some ways that this was a problem. And many of you guys gave me some answers that were related to dispelling this. But 6 of you guys recognize what one of the three problems that I saw were, and were able to get, throw this theory out. And I gave everybody 5 minutes for that. But I want to get into those three reasons that I see that this is just a ridiculous claim that 5G cell towers were causing COVID-19. And the COVID-19, remember, is the disease. The virus is a coronavirus itself. And it has a different name than COVID-19. That COVID-19 is a disease. The name of the virus, I believe, is Wuhan human COVID something. I don't remember what the number is. Nevertheless, coronaviruses don't have DNA. They're retroviruses. So this guy was saying that this virus's DNA was being mutated. So just that fact alone disqualifies his answer. However, I think that's kind of splitting hairs. He may have meant genetic information or the genome, but he said DNA. So let's just give him that. And let's move on to the next reason that this would not be an accurate situation. But before I do, I want to kind of go back over what I mean by that I have RNA rather than DNA. So this would be typical retrovirus, kind of a cartoon version of it. They have a lipid bilayer. They do have extensions of these capsids, these antigens that are coming off this protein envelope, and they do have an internal capsid. But you'll notice that they have RNA here, and they don't have DNA. That they do carry their own enzyme for reverse transcriptase as well, but they don't have DNA, which kind of throws his argument out. The next thing, which I thought was a little more relevant, was viruses are non-living, and replication and transcription are where these errors occur with viruses. So when viruses do undergo mutations, they undergo these mutations during replication or transcription, especially transcription if you're a retrovirus. And not in the environment. Being that they're non-living, they can't replicate on their own. They have to be in a host. And so if they were undergoing these mutations, these mutations would be going on inside the host, and the host would shield them from any of this radiation. And these radio waves are going to be at a much lower frequency than higher radio waves. They wouldn't be able to actually cause these mutations in the first place. So we know that these radio waves aren't causing problems within the host, within us, because the rates of cancer, the background rates for cancer are no different in areas with 5G towers as opposed to 4G towers. So these mutations that would cause these mutations would not be occurring in people anyway. And so this throws out his argument. This throws it out. There's no way that these viruses would be subjugated to mutations in the environment, because any of those mutations that did occur would actually probably break down this virus and render it incapable of actually infecting a host. And then they're not going to be undergoing these mutations inside of a host, because the body of the host itself would shield them from any of this radiation, which is at a much lower frequency than what wouldn't be needed to cause a mutation in the first place. So this argument is irrelevant. again, just kind of go over how this works. We have a retrovirus, and the retrovirus is here has the antigens on the outside. These are what these binding sites where it actually comes in and binds to your receptors. They will go inside of a host. They're going to release their RNA. The RNA will go through transcription, and then that transcription is going to is going to, excuse me, and they'll go through reverse transcription to produce DNA. The DNA gets inserted to the host. Then that undergoes transcription another time, and then the virus is able to assemble itself. So all the information that they need to build these capsid and these enzymes is here in this viral RNA in the first place, or in this, I don't know about necessarily the first place, but in this viral RNA, and then they bud out. So this is how this works, and this would not happen outside of the environment, in the environment outside of a host. So this guy's argument is null and void. And then the last one is that mutations are random. We can't predict exactly where they're going to occur and how often they're going to occur, but if these cell towers were causing COVID-19 to mutate, these mutations would be everywhere, all over the genome, and not in one particular location. And they would be predictable, unpredictable. And what we find is that these mutations are predictable, and we do know the location or loci that this is occurring, and then these are passed out. If we would have a scatter plot of mutations, if cell towers were causing these mutations, and this is just simply isn't what we see, not at all. It's not the pattern that we see at all. So if we look at a phylogenetic tree, we know confidence levels between organisms, and all these are going to be mutations in organisms, and we know how confident we are where these mutations arose in time. Remember, on this axis is going to be time, and we know with reasonable confidence, 80% confidence, that there was a split here between these two organisms that had these mutations. So phylogenetic trees show us patterns, and we wouldn't see a clear pattern if there was just multiple constant mutations from 5G towers. This is the Wuhan virus, Wuhan human, Wuhan human 1, China 2019. That is the name of this thing, or at least the date. That's the name, and this is the date that it was discovered. And I think it's interesting to see that these are all the known COVID viruses that we see, or coronaviruses that we are aware of, and you can see the different organisms that are the reservoirs for these. So there's the samba deer, bovine meaning cow, equine meaning horse, porcine meaning pigs. There's a number of hosts that these are a part of, or or reservoirs for these viruses. And we had a jump here to human, right? And you can see it's kind of nested with this group of viruses that are coming from bats. So it's not like a human engineered thing. This is also nested with SARS, which I think is kind of interesting, because that group did jump into humans as well about 20 years ago. So I'm going to come full circle back to whenever I was teaching you guys statistics. So when you're learning, when I taught you guys statistics, I taught you guys that sometimes we don't detect patterns that are there, and sometimes we detect patterns that are not there. And then we have to use some sort of test to see whether a pattern exists or not. So I'm going to share a different screen with you really quick. I don't know if you can see this still. Hold on. It'll kind of go over this. I know this is full circle. This is one of the lessons that we learned earlier this year.
Of course, it's all connected. This conspiracy goes all the way to the top. That's right, I'm talking about the human brain. I'm Shannon, and I'm a neuroscience PhD candidate. And this is your brain on conspiracy theories. Conspiracy theories are having a renaissance right now. It seems like every day we hear about a rapper who believes that the Earth is flat, or an athlete who believes that the moon landing is fake, or that a super advanced race of aliens have infiltrated infiltrated the Earth and they live among us as they prepare for invasion and the eventual enslavement of the entire human race. So, how is the otherwise working brain able to believe in such far-fetched ideas? The human brain is wired to see patterns to help us survive. Dark clouds mean a storm is coming. A mysterious shadow means a predator is trying to murder you. That sort of thing. Sensing patterns can save your life. Pattern processing became increasingly sophisticated with expansion of the cerebral cortex, particularly the prefrontal cortex and regions involved in image processing. As we evolved, the brain got so good at finding patterns that it sometimes sees a pattern in completely unconnected data. Enter the conspiracy theory. Conspiracy theories generally refer to explaining important events as secret plots by powerful groups. People who believe in conspiracy theories have brains that are more prone to illusory pattern perception, aka finding connections when there are none. In one study, researchers flipped coins and asked subjects to record the results. People who thought they saw patterns in the random coin flips were more likely to believe in at least one major conspiracy theory. So why do conspiracy theorists sometimes see connections that just aren't there? Neuroscientists believe it may be due to extra dopamine in their brains. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter involved in emotion, reward, and cognition. It's thought to be especially important in decision-making, as it helps people find signal in noise. People with genetically higher levels of free dopamine are more likely to believe in one or more conspiracy theories. In fact, in an experiment where a drug to increase dopamine levels was administered to non-believers, they behaved more like believers, seeing patterns in random shapes. But it just doesn't add up. Egyptian alien gods, flat earth, Illuminati, lizard men. How can conspiracy theorists keep on believing these improbable ideas without coming to terms with the literal mountains of evidence? Unless that's it. Confirmation bias. Once the brain sees a pattern, information which supports it is easily assimilated to the brain and acts to reinforce belief in that pattern. The brain pays attention to information simply because it agrees with the current belief, while disregarding anything to the contrary. Ironically, the explosion of information on the internet may have made the problem worse, not better. Conspiracy theorists can now accumulate lots and lots of misinformation, creating communities and echo chambers, which only act to reinforce their conspiracy beliefs. And that brings us to fear of the unknown. The amygdala and the insula are the drama queens of the brain, and they will raise the alarm in uncertain situations. Feelings of powerlessness can compel a person to try to find order in chaos, and that often means finding patterns where there are none. Studies show that people will gravitate towards conspiracy theories if they feel as if they have no power in their own lives. And although it may seem fun to think we live on a flat disk controlled by NASA, disregarding science and facts can be extremely dangerous. And while you can't force someone to stop believing in a conspiracy, research suggests that there may be a way to turn these people around. Empowering people by encouraging them to take action in their own personal lives can reduce feelings of helplessness, and in turn, reduce their reliance on conspiracy theories. And luckily, you don't have to return your hat when you stop believing, which is a good thing, because it's a pretty incredible fashion choice. All right?
And so when you think about the current situation that we're in a situation where we don't have a lot of power. We certainly have less power than we did prior to this event. So people that would be more prone to believing these conspiracy theories are going to be more likely to want to grab on to anything to try to understand what's going on. They may have lost a loved one. They may have lost a job. They may have lost retirement accounts. They may have lost their freedom of movement. I lost my ability to get a haircut, which I'll hopefully get tomorrow. Um, but there's reasons that people feel out of control, and then that might allow them to gravitate towards these conspiracies just all the more readily. So what I am going to have you guys do is think about what conspiracy theories have you seen, and then also look into others that have maybe about, in the environment that you are living in the digital world, and look at these conspiracy theories and think about how you could dispel them based on your getting educated. So being educated isn't only to attend a college, to graduate, or maybe choose a profession of your choosing, or possess a profession of your choosing, but it's as important, if not more important, to be able to thoughtfully and efficiently and effectively navigate the world in which you live in. You're going to move through this world and have a lot of different situations that you're going to encounter. And as you encounter these different situations throughout your life, to be able to tease these things apart and think about them critically gives you more empowerment. And when you're more you feel more empowered, you're less likely to grab onto these crazy ideas that the world is flat, um, or that COVID-19 is being transmitted through a cell tower. And there were people that actually took it as so far as to say that these viruses were being transmitted through the airwaves, through your phone, and into your body. Um, and that's a leap of logic that just isn't valid. There's just no, I don't understand how you could get that far down the crazy train. But people do. And so you guys have been trained through TOK, History of the Americas, English, language arts, science. You've been taught to think and understand what these areas of knowledge are and how to think about these area of knowledge and these areas of knowledge and discern fact from fiction, subjective from objective, to think about what's really happening around you more effectively. And what your assignment is just simply to find one conspiracy theory of COVID-19 and think of a way that you, or something that you've learned so far, as a way to dispel that. So you should be able to knock out any and if not all of these conspiracy theories just through your high school education. We could throw this one out just through biology itself, but you can choose which subject area that you want to use, which area of knowledge that you would like to encounter, which way of knowing that you would like to consider as a way to throw out a conspiracy and garner more of that power, so that you don't feel so powerless and you can think about this more effectively. You can send this to me in an email. I'm going to be switching over to working on some work for freshmen until about 4 o'clock. So if you send it to me before 3, I'll probably get a chance to look at it. But then after that, I won't be able to look at it for a while. I actually have another meeting at 4 o'clock now that I think about it. But I'll get to it this evening. So I'm gonna upload this video to the YouTube, and hopefully this re-recording of this makes it a little more easier to understand. You guys have a nice day. All right, bye bye.